You are listening to the Willpower Podcast. Welcome to the show. I am Will Holdren, and I talk with some of the most influential CEOs, entrepreneurial leaders, and thought leaders to try and reveal the secrets that has led to their success. I believe that with the right knowledge and mindset, you can do anything you set your mind to. So if you want to learn how to change your life for the better, if you want to learn how millionaires actually became wealthy, or if you want to develop and start your own business from the ground up with the right knowledge to help you, then you are in the right place because this is the Willpower Podcast.
Nowhere that we go is a one-way street. Nothing that we love is a one-day key. And if we gon' do it, we gon' do this now. And if we say we gon' hold this down. Nowhere that we...
How's it going, everyone? My name is Will Holdren, and I am the host of the Willpower Podcast. Today, our special guest is David Bentinck. And David is actually an eXp realtor, and he's based out of the Texas market. So it's an absolute honor to have him on here today. So David, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, Will, I really appreciate you having me on, man. I'm excited to be here and hopefully looking forward to add value to you and your audience.
Of course, I'm sure you'll do that. I love talking with realtors and kind of figuring out why they chose real estate in the first place and kind of how they got to where they are today.
Yep.
So my first question for you is, what was your childhood like, and how has it helped turn you into who you are today?
Man, really great question, boss. So if you don't mind, let me take the stage. I'll kind of, give you my $15,000, bird's eye view of, the overview of, where I came from in my background. So, I grew up, very, very humble beginnings, man. I didn't really, grow up in the best of neighborhoods. It wasn't, anything, ghetto or something like that, but it definitely wasn't, I didn't really have great role models surrounding me. So I would say probably, I learned very early on, man, the principles of hard work and the value of honesty. When I was about, in high school, getting into high school, I really started to become more entrepreneurial. Around 16, I had a truck, a 1996 Silverado. I mean, I love that thing. And what I used to do is I used to go into estate sales and garage sales, and I used to go in and do kind of like the Gary V thing where I go and find stuff that I could buy and later sell for a profit. A big thing that I used to do is buy washers and dryers, which actually, I used to make a lot of money on because more often than not, you can buy a small piece that, maybe the dryer needed. And, it worked pretty well. A lot of people would throw out their dryers just because, maybe the heat, it stopped heating, but maybe it's just a simple part. And so I really made a good, not living, but I would say like I did really well as far as doing that. So that's where the kind of like my entrepreneur, spirit came out. And also going into different houses, man, it really kind of gave you that point of view and how people live, man. It really intrigued me. And, my passion for real estate grew after that ever since, because I was reading a lot of self-developmental books and reading how all these self-made millionaires started to become wealthy through real estate. Real estate was a facet of their wealth. So I tried the whole college thing, man. It didn't really work out with me because, there's a great Nipsey Hussle quote that says, if you look in your circle and you don't get inspired, you don't have a circle, you have a cage. And when I was in college, I didn't feel like anybody really wanted to be there. Nobody really took an interest of what they were doing. And so I ended up dropping out around that same time. Like I said, I was reading all these books. I was watching like $1 Million Listing. I was like, man, real estate seems pretty cool. Like, I mean, it led me in that direction to get my real estate license. So, fast forward, a couple of months, I got my real estate license. And I would say, I tell people I didn't go to university, but I went through the University of Hard Knocks. I'm pretty sure anybody who was an entrepreneur went through the School of Hard Knocks, man. You just kind of, you had to roll with the punches. And so I would say probably after probably about 3 years into being an agent, I really found my stride, because what I found out was that, I really wanted to change the reputation that people had for agents. Because let's be honest, man, we're not really looked at with a lot of respect, right? Unless you create that presence or you've been in the business for a while. So I really wanted to, I strive to innovate the process of buying and selling and make that experience a lot better for my clients. And so how I, usually would do that is going to trainings, going to seminars, learning from the best, and becoming like a certified home selling advisor through the National Association of Expert Advisors. And so, that really helped me, innovate that process for my clients. And so, I really saw the need to give back to my agents because I really want to see everybody win. Something that we believe at EXP is the collaboration over competition. So, making the process smooth for my clients, adding value where I can to my, my fellow peers in the real estate business. Actually won me 2021's hardest working realtor Rise and Grind Award by Real Producers. I don't know if you have real producers in your marketplace. Do you?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously a big feat, which I was very humbled to win. Ever since then, man, I really found the stride to not only give back to my agents. And so, I just, continue to try to add value where I can, Will. And, in doing so, I've created like a private Facebook group where agents can come and collaborate. I get a lot of, top agents seeking advice and wanting to partner with me at EXP, man. At the end of the day, I'm a stubborn visionary with a huge, huge heart, and I'm willing to help anybody who's willing to help themselves.
100%. I mean, I love that come up, and I love your humble beginnings and kind of how you stumbled into entrepreneurship. And honestly, there's a lot of similarities of how I kind of came into entrepreneurship at the same time. You mentioned that you read a lot of books, and that kind of like showed you like how real estate is kind of the key, like generating that generational wealth and wealth for long key. And that's kind of like my podcast. I kind of started out wanting to find that secret of like what are people actually doing to become successful. So at the beginning, I was just interviewing like entrepreneurs and like Inc. 500 CEOs, people of that nature, and all of them had something in common. They're all involved in real estate in some type of way, maybe not like a realtor, but like investors. And so that's why I kind of changed my podcast more towards real estate. And so I totally see where you're coming from that angle. And it's super cool to kind of see you dive into real estate and, even take that step of dropping out of college because you, like you said, that Nipsey Hussle quote is actually great. I love Nipsey, rip Nipsey, but I definitely can relate to that. And it's like, I'm in college right now and I'm totally experiencing the same thing that you were talking about. Maybe I just don't have the balls to drop out, but I definitely read where you're coming from.
It took a lot. It took a lot because my mom, she's from Mexico, and they put a lot of value and emphasis on going to school. Right. Her mindset is that, going to school, getting a good job and getting working for however long is that's the American dream. Right. And so, me, venturing off the path, she definitely didn't like it. She definitely supported, but it definitely took a lot of guts, a lot of praying to make that decision. And luckily I have very supportive parents who have helped me through my career. So, man, I completely understand. I would definitely honestly, if I can go back, I would go to college, but just for the networking purposes, because it's not about the grades you make, man. It's the hand you shake, for sure.
100%. I can totally relate to that as well. Like, I feel like I'm not learning that much, but I feel like I'm meeting people, and getting that experience kind of under my belt.
For sure.
I had Futuristic on my podcast a while ago. I don't know if you know who he is, but he mentioned the same thing. Futuristic, he's a rapper. Pretty big
Futuristic.
rapper.
No, I don't think I've heard of him.
Gotcha.
I thought you said Future.
No, I wish. but he dropped out of college too, and he told his mom, he's like, listen, if I don't make it by the time I'm like 27, 28, then I'll come back to college and finish it for you. So he kind of like made that jump. It's kind of cool to see that same correlation with your story. So
I'd like to go back. I have to go follow him, man. I'd love to hear people's success stories.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's super cool. So kind of fast forward in your career, you chose real estate and you chose to become a realtor. So how did that first year go in real estate? Did you go as an expected, or was it a lot harder for you?
Man, I fell flat on my face. I joined Keller Williams, and this isn't a shot at any brokerage. I have the mindset of 100-0, which is it's one of my core values is 100% accountability, zero excuses. And so I didn't do anything for my first, I believe, 8 months in the business. What I didn't realize is that when I would go into the office, I thought I was being productive by going to the office, Will, and I wasn't. I was actually rubbing shoulders with other new agents. What I found out quickly was that top producers were not actually in the office. They were actually out in the field or either working from home. So I was actually rubbing shoulders with other new agents, and we were just kind of in the office, not knowing what to do. Now, there was trainings in that office for sure, but I think that office was actually pretty disorganized because it was a newer Keller Williams. And, like I said, 6 months, 8 months in, I was on the cusp of giving up. But I quickly realized, like, look, if I do that, I'm going to have to go back to college, which I didn't want to. And also, I didn't want to become another statistic, right? 80%. I think it's even higher. 87% of agents fall out their first year. And they're like, man, there's no way, right? So I started, quickly calling people or reaching out to the people that I know. And there was one of my buddies who was at a different Keller Williams, was at a much larger office, said, "Hey man, there's this team that's hiring." And I was like, "Look, I've got nothing to lose, but everything to gain." Quickly joined the team, and they quickly taught me how to, which I wish somebody taught me at earlier in my career, was how to lead generate, how to follow up, how to run appointments, how to cold call, how to script. They taught me the fundamentals of real estate because I personally believe you never graduate from the fundamentals. So that's what I did on a daily basis. One of the top habits of the top 1% of earners is that they prospect for a minimum of 2 hours a day. So I quickly learned how to prospect, and I did that for several years. In the beginning of my career, and because being young, nobody really trust you. I mean, you get a couple of family friends who would like to use you and throw you a bone. But let's be honest, man, if you were to go to a stranger and, you look young, right, and you don't have the necessary skill or knowledge that maybe their friend in 20 years has, they're not going to use you. They're just going to see you as that punk kid. But I quickly learned how to cold call strangers and convert and run appointments. And so that really, mastering that fundamentals of doing that really led me up into this point. I mean, I still prospect on a daily basis because I'm always trying to fill the top of that funnel and bring people, into client statuses.
100%. So would you say that switching brokerages was probably the turning point in your early real estate career?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So like I said, I was at Keller Williams for about 2.5 years. And, like earlier, what I said, that 3-year mark is really where I found my stride. And there's a reason why, is because about 3 years ago in July, 2019 is actually when I joined EXP. Or were you talking about joining brokerages like from Keller Williams to Keller Williams?
Yeah, but you're good. You're good. What are you talking
Gotcha.
about?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I believe what happened is that I got around the right people, right? Proximity is power. I got around people who were actually doing business. The team that I joined was a $60 million real estate sales team. So I got around people doing exactly what I did and doing exactly what I needed to do to become successful, even though it's not sexy at all. Trust me, I'm in the office pretty much almost every day. If I'm not out showing clients, I'm cold calling, I'm following up, making videos. Like it's not sexy. You could look on Instagram or agents' Instagram, and you can see them making TikToks and reels, and it looks cool and all that's good. But honestly, there's a difference between prospecting, being a proactive and reactive kind of marketing. And I like proactive, man. I like to cold call. I like to cold DM. I like to door knock. I like to be more aggressive on how I run my business, and all that translates into how I work for my clients. I don't like to be reactive. If you making the TikToks and the reels are great. And I think that's good. I mean, definitely sprinkle that in, but that's not scalable, Will. I personally believe if you're a little bit more of a prospecting based business, like I'm a cold caller. In my private Facebook group, I go live cold calling. And if anybody wants to join, they can go take a look at it. It's called Keeping It Real in Real Estate. It's a private Facebook group. And I show people what I'm doing, how I call, who I call, what I call. And, I can scale that. I have a little bit more control over my business. And so I got around the right people who taught me all that. And I personally believe that was the catalyst for my growth.
Gotcha. Yeah, let's actually dive into that a little bit, because obviously sales is what runs every business. And obviously you got to fill the top of your funnel. And so that comes from prospecting and kind of generating those leads for yourself. So kind of like what are you doing to kind of prospect that you were doing differently to kind of get those leads starting out, and like cold calling, like how are you getting those lists to cold call? Like how many making a day? Like what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So what the difference was is I was actually making the calls versus not making the calls, right? That was step one. Step two is like I got a great dialer, the Mojo dialer, which is a fantastic dialer. And you can actually buy neighborhoods, zip codes. You can actually cold call around zip codes, which is great. That's called circle prospecting. That's great. That's a great start. That's actually the coldest of the cold. That's actually going to be more of a longer process, a more longer nurture process. You can go into expireds, which is what I learned first, how to cold call expireds and for sub owners. More so expired listings, just because they've already raised their hands into hiring an agent and paying a commission. So that's what I really focused on, was expired listings. I did that, probably our team minimum standard was making at least 1,500 phone calls a week. So that was about, if you're in the office Monday through Friday, you'd have to make 300 phone calls a day. That's if you took the weekends off or just didn't prospect on the weekend. So in the beginning of my career, I was making about 300 phone calls a day. I know for a fact, I reverse engineer it. So if I call about 30 to 35, if I make 30 to 35 contacts, I would set at least one appointment a day and get 5 nurtures, right? So I would go into expired listings would be the first people that I would call. Our team also had a database of nurtured sellers, so people who we talked to but maybe just weren't ready. So I'd go into them, and then if I didn't get anything for them, I would go into the circle prospect and see if I can get any neighborhood leads. Maybe more so calling neighborhoods that we recently just sold a home over and say, hey, Will, we just sold a home well over asking. Have you thought about taking advantage of this great market? So it would be expires, it would be the nurtured sellers, and then it would go into neighborhood prospecting, and then obviously follow up. So really, Will, you have to have a great schedule in this business, right? If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. So from 8 to 11, we would cold call. From 11 to 12, we would follow up. 12 to about 12:30 or 12:45 would be lunch, and then from 1 o'clock to maybe about 4 would either be admin stuff like paperwork, writing offers, whatever. Now what I do in that time is the paperwork, writing offers, but also creating content. And if I don't have any appointments from about 4 to 8, I'm prospecting more. I'm doing more social media stuff. So I'm prospecting pretty much almost all day, every day if I don't have an appointment. Now, if I do have appointments and showings, I would take it. I would do it anywhere from about 2 to about 7. Right. That's what a great day would look like. It's about 8 to 11 prospect, 11 to 12 follow up, 12 to 12:45 have your lunch, and then 1 to 4, do your admin stuff, run your errands, do some social media, and then get back on the phones from 4 to 7:30. I promise, if you master the phones, Will, you're never going to go out of business.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. And so 300 phone calls a day, cold calls a day is like a lot. But I feel like it's definitely worth. So you said you got 1 lead per 30 calls, right? That's what your ratio was?
1 appointment.
1 appointment. So you got 10 appointments every single day just from calling people 300 times.
Pretty much. Yep.
Wow. And then like how many like deals does that turn into?
Wait. You said 10 appointments a day?
Yeah. Is that what you're setting? Like from 300 calls total, you got 10 appointments?
No. So 300 calls a day would equate to about, assuming that we have a good contact ratio, about 10%. Because not a lot of people pick up their phones, right? And what's happening is that a lot of carriers are starting to mark, phone numbers who are making a lot of calls as spam. We'd get about a 10% contact ratio. So 300 phone calls would equate to about 30 contacts. 30 contacts would land me about 1 appointment. So it'd be about one appointment a day is what I would shoot for.
Gotcha. That's still impressive though. I mean, cold calling has got to be kind of like draining, but
it could be a grind, man. It could really be a grind, man. It definitely can take a lot out of you. Luckily, I have fallen in love with it, and I'm good at it to where like I actually make it fun. Like if you go watch some of my videos, man, I make it fun, and I don't let them control the conversation. I typically like to control it.
Gotcha.
I got a high D personality, so I control it, man. If they start bucking, right? I would just put them right back into their place. But in a polite way, right? But it can be, man, and this business can be draining in total, right? But at the end of the day, how else are you going to be business if you're not talking to new people?
100%. And so you're buying these like zip codes to like where to call people, correct? Like
so you can buy you'd have to buy the zip codes. There's a plan with Mojo. In order to purchase the expireds and for sale by owner leads, it would be a Vulcan 7 is the software that we use to purchase those leads from.
Gotcha. You guys make it sound pretty easy. Like just do this calls and like you're going to get these results. So, like my next question for you is like, why do most agents struggle to just pick up their phone and like make those cold calls or go door knocking or stuff like that when it's just simple? Like there's a planned out thing you can do, get sales up, but yet not a lot of people do that. So why?
Well, it's just like working out, man. It's a muscle. You have to work it out. Like when I first started off on the phones, I was scared out of my mind, dude. Just the number one thing for me was like I didn't want people to hear my conversations, my team members, right? Which was a limiting belief or a limiting mindset because they were there to help. They were there to say, hey, say this next time, right? Or two, I was just afraid of what that other person was going to say on the phone, right? What's the worst they can say? They can either say no or hang up on you, right? I adopted the mindset, man, where I'm at the end of the day, I'm looking for people who are looking for me. So the person who needs my help, they're going to stay on the phone and they're going to stay there and listen to what I have to say. That's the person I'm looking for.
100%. And so kind of like looking at your story and looking at how you kind of run your business, I love how assertive you are as an entrepreneur. Like, this is my schedule, I'm going to stick to it. You got the mindset down. Okay, I know I'm going to get rejected 8 out of 10 times, but those people that don't reject me, I know it's going to work out. So my next question for you is like, how do you kind of generate this whole mindset and ability to kind of overcome all these struggles and, you know, kind of get that mentality, like to keep pushing forward, knowing that there's going to be better things on the other side? Because a lot of people struggle to kind of develop that mindset. They have that first or second rejection, they're done, they're out of it. And it's like, how do you kind of develop? Do you think it's just from the personal development books you've read, or what would you contribute to that?
Yeah, man, I think it's that. It's also having a great support system, having great mentors. Like here at EXP, man, we've got a very collaborative community. I know the person that you partner with is an amazing person as well. I've got amazing support on my end as far as my sponsors and my senior business partners. So getting around them actually really helped me adopt these kind of mindsets. And I've always, modeling is actually the shortcut to success. Well, like I'm a relentless knowledge seeker, right? I typically like to surround myself with people who have the answers to some of the most challenging questions of my life, and or most challenging questions in my life. And I typically like to surround myself with people who have those answers. Like after attending a lot of conferences and buying, a lot of coaching programs or reading a lot of books, I mean, I found one commonality with each and every person that I, ran into, was that, they were trendsetters, man. I saw the same faces at conferences. I saw the same books behind these people's desk, and, modeling is the shortcut to success. And so, I really just modeled and adapted my mentors' mindsets, my mentors' schedules, my mentors' habits. If you finding somebody who has the results you want, and just duplicating and modeling what they do to become successful, man. And one of that is the mindset, right? And I personally believe that that's one of the reasons why I've able to adopt this mindset. Not only that, but also knowing what it takes to become successful, knowing that, I've been doing this for so long that, okay, this guy said no, this guy said no, this guy said no. I already know that. I already know for a fact that I'm going to get a lot of no's and fuck yous before I get a yes, right? Here's the thing. The more no's I get, the closer to a yes I get, right? If I get 99 no's, but just that one yes who may be a $500,000 seller who's going to go buy, calling those 99 people is going to be well worth it. Right. So that's what I personally believe, putting myself into proximity and modeling successful people's habits, what they read, who they read, and their mindset is really adopted, the kind of mindset that I have today.
100%. And so essentially what you're saying is, you can just model these people, and the actions that you're doing is going to lead to success because other people have done it and it's led to success for them. And there's no difference. Like starting a podcast for me, it's like I interviewed hundreds of successful people. It's like I know the actions that are required to get there. And so it's like I know it's going to take 5 years. I know it's going to be like in that time frame. So it's just being consistent. And same thing with you, like reading those books and kind of talking to those mentors, like exactly what it's going to take. And so like all these no's that are coming up now, they're not going to deter you for the future. And I love what you said about mentors. You're not mentioning like friends and family. You're not duplicating friends and family. You're duplicating people that you want to copy, that you want to actually be like into the future. And I think that's so important because so many people don't get out of those groups that they're comfortable with, and find out those new friends. And I can speak from experience, like different businesses that I've started, like once you meet these different entrepreneurs, like the conversations are different. And it's like, I love it. It's like the energy is so different. The vibes are different. And it's just like, you got to find that tribe of people. And it's not your friends and family. It's just people that are entrepreneurs that are actually doing it. And I love that fact about it too, because you can go out there and find them. So,
I mean, yeah, why would you take advice from somebody who doesn't have the results you want, or at least not doing what you're after, right? Find people who have reached the goals that you have, and just ask like, hey, can I pick your brain? Can I take you out to coffee? And anybody who is open-minded into, if somebody were to say, hey man, I'd love to pick your brain, let's get lunch. Like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Yep.
And even that, finding the right mentors, finding somebody who's going to be open to doing that. There's some people who who keep the cards close to their chest. And I felt that at other brokerages here at EXP. I don't feel that at all. I mean, I've got several business partners who I can reach out across the country and say, hey man, I'm struggling here with this piece of my business. How do I level up? Right. And we can just hop on a quick call and figure out what needs to be implemented to get me to that next level. So that's what I love about the collaboration here at EXP. It's one of the best, business models that I've ever seen, not only from a platform standpoint, but the fact that we get to collaborate with a bunch of people across the country to help us, stay accountable to our goals. Let me ask you something, Will. I mean, I'm gonna flip the script here. So you've interviewed a lot of people, obviously, very successful people, I would imagine, right? What has been some of your takeaways from like some of the people that you've interviewed? Like, what are your takeaways? That's like some of the best nuggets that you've heard?
Yeah, some of the best nuggets. So the one guy I interviewed, he was an Inc. 500 CEO of a company called Gym Guys. They're like $1 billion international company. And so I DM'd him to come on my podcast, and his assistant said, no, we shouldn't do it because I'm too small of a person. But then he reached back out to me personally. It's like, let's do it. And so I got on the podcast with him. He's like, why I accept this? Like, because you just took action. And I think that is such a huge golden nugget. Like, how many people are just getting analysis paralysis and they never just take action, whatever they want to do, just got to take that first step in that direction. And so to me, that was definitely one of my biggest golden nuggets. And I kept that with me. Like, you don't got to know your whole plan. You just got to know the next step. And so that's what I'm keeping in mind. It's just one day at a time. And so I think that's
huge.
I
love that, man. I love that. Massive action solves everything.
100%. Yeah. So that was a cool one. But yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, like you just learn repeated things. They start repeating themselves. Like, it's consistency. It's taking action. It's just reaching out to mentors. Like, it's the same stuff people are saying, but so many people lack on the follow through of it. And so that's why it's just confusing part. But I guess that's just entrepreneurship, So
I think consistency is a really big, really very important step, man. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to quit, dude. Just this business is it's a machine, right? But it's well worth it. Financially, and also is very rewarding, man, when you help somebody buy and sell real estate. I mean, it's a really good feeling. And I know for a fact that, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be me, because I'm very thorough with what I do in my work. So, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to quit. And, there's just a couple of things that help me re-engage that, I'm like, damn, I got to keep going. I've got goals to hit. Take a look at my goals and my 5-year plan, and like, hey, you got goals to reach. I mean, it takes a lot of work to be success. Success is rented and rent is due every day. So I remind myself about that every single day. I'm like, damn, I got to get up and grind. I believe that, everything goes to zero at midnight. I believe in going to bed tired and waking up hungry, man. That's just how I'm wired.
Yep. I love that. And so before we run out of time, I just want to touch on your goals a little bit. So kind of like looking at your future, like what are some of your goals that you really do hope to get accomplished in like the next couple of years?
The goal is financial freedom, right? The goal is never to make a shitload of money. It's what money can bring as far as from a freedom standpoint. So the goal is to create passive income. I personally believe at some point in our lives, we're going to move towards passive income. And so my goals are to have in the next 5 years, 10 rental properties. My goal is to have 1,000 agents partner with me at EXP. My goal is to become a public speaker. I've got several different goals. Those are pretty much the top 3, right? Those are going to be the most rewarding and going to change the quality of my life. But I've got several different goals that are based on business, personal, spiritual, relationship wise. So I've got goals kind of in those categories that I'm on track, and I look at on a monthly basis just to make sure, like, hey, am I taking action toward these goals? Right. So it's number one, it's powerful writing down your goals, because in a year when it happens, like, oh shit, I wrote it down and it came into fruition. Number 2, it's actually very powerful to keep track and looking back at them and speaking them into existence, because I mean, everything that we do, a thought, a movement, words that we speak, it's a vibration, right? And so the vibrations that you're putting out into the universe, man, it's gonna trigger what kind of vibrations you bring back into your own world. So I tend to be very positive. I speak positivity. I'm very upbeat, kind of happy-go-lucky kind of guy. So I want positivity in my life, and so I cut out any drama. I cut out anything that could be negative, man. It could be a relationship that needs to go, right? I don't want that kind of in my life. So all of that helps me achieve my goals, and so that those are some of the goals, and what I do to help make sure that those goals come into play.
100%. I love that. It'll be cool to kind of see you reach those 2 in the next couple of years. So I'm excited to watch that progression. So before we hop off, is there anything else that you'd like to say? And if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Yeah, I'm an open book. You can reach probably the best way is through Instagram at David Bentinck. That's DavidBentinck. You know, what I would probably leave to somebody is that, you know, success leaves clues, and so there's a reason why, or there's a reason why successful people are in the position that they are today. I would say reach out to these people who you believe are successful and just ask to pick their brain and find the commonality with what's going on with them. Like, you know, find the commonality of what, you know, what they're doing differently that you're not. If you don't have something in your life, it's probably, you know, we need to take a look at what you're doing on a daily basis. You know, it could be just a simple change that can help you get that, you know, the results that you want. I personally believe that if you don't have something in your life, it's probably because you haven't learned something. I'm sure somebody out there has learned what you're trying to accomplish. And so all you have to do is just reach out to that successful person, pick their brain, model their success. And I mean, you know, the results that they've done in 10 years, you can probably do it and accomplish it in two to three.
That's awesome. Love that. All right, guys, there you have it. David Bentinck, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, boss, I appreciate you. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing this drop.
Nowhere that we go is a one-way street. Nothing that we love is a one-day key. And if we gon' do it, we gon' do this now. And if we say we gon' hold this